There are two major branches of Chinese philosophy: the Confucianism and Taoism. And can you just maybe talk a little bit about how this would apply to the Shaolin Yoga course?
Yes, Taoism is a very natural, if we may even call it a shamanic type of spirituality or religion. It deals with the forces of nature and their impact on us and our interrelationship with these forces. Taoism takes into account that things happen for particular reasons and there are causes and effects. Now, Confucianism is a very scholarly religion. Confucianism emphasizes the family, academic achievements, righteousness, decency, and living a good life via virtues of good character and good loyalty to family, our teachers, our professors, and those that we love.
Okay, cool. So, and we know that this kind of just plays an important role in this course because it's basically the Chinese philosophy
Yes.
that kind of brings apart the Shaolin Yoga Qigong that we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
And you talking about Confucianism, so we're talking about, like you said, kind of like a certain code of living, so
Yes.
to speak, or a
Code of ethics,
so to speak, right?
yes.
For the modern day. Okay, cool. And so just as we kind of get into this introduction here, you talk about in the book that Qigong training, it's not a religious thing, it's not like a religious phenomenon, it's more of just, well, can you explain it?
Yeah, people sometimes confuse these things, and there's a misconception that these are cults, but essentially Qigong has been around for thousands of years, and the 8 pieces of silk, one of the styles that we're going to analyze and teach, is the Baduan Jing, is one of the most enduring, powerful, and effective forms of Qigong. And we touched on Taoism before. It really is, if we were to really categorize it in the grand scheme of Chinese culture and spirituality, it falls more into Taoism because it's about change, and Taoism is focused on the I Ching, which is the book of change.
Yes.
So when you look at Qigong, it mirrors, or it kind of like exemplifies and shapes the forces of change in our bodies, because we're a microcosm of a large macrocosm, and by performing Qigong, we're creating change every day. So it really is in tune with the I Ching and the wonderful Tai Chi symbol that everyone's familiar with.
Right, awesome. And so talking about the 8 pieces of brocade, or what's called the 8 silk movements, and just looking at the book here, we talk about this set of exercises also relating to a type of meditation, but more like a moving meditation, so you don't necessarily have to just sit in one spot, right?
Yes.
When we think of meditation, I think
Yes.
people who don't maybe understand it completely think, well, I'm going to have to sit, I got to make some noises, which
Yeah.
is great to do.
Yeah.
But the 8 silk movements that we're introducing in this book is more of a moving meditation, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a very important point, Dr. Eliota, because when you look at Qigong, the different forms of Qigong, we could break these down into martial Qigong, and martial artists love this, scholarly Qigong, spiritual Qigong for scholarly, spiritual development, and of course medical Qigong.
Right.
And the movements and the actual practice is simple, it's very effective, and it's pretty much easy to learn. And like anything else, if you master it, if you start practicing it, the health benefits are incalculable.
Awesome. And you talked a little bit before about the history, and reading here says the creation of the 8 pieces of brocade can be traced back to the 1100s? Is this
1100, about 1100s, Marshal Yu Fui created this. So this is no fad. It's no new age type of exercise. It's like in the history of anything that's been useful has endured. So people embrace what's good, and usually society discards what's not. So this has been a very effective, at minimum, a health preservation method, which really combines. It's the wonderful merging of mind, body, spirit, where you have the breath, you have movement, you have chi incorporated into one exercise. It may be considered like the ultimate exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of exercise, what's very popular nowadays is yoga.
Yes.
Right? And the fact that you call it Shaolin yoga
Yes.
really brings you back to the roots. Because I'm not sure if we have it in this text, but one of the reasons for today's lecture is to give us a little bit more in-depth detail. You've taught me that there was a Silk Road. There was a Silk Road where
Correct.
the Qigong was being presented. And was
Correct.
it from an Indian monk? Was that the case?
Yeah. Originally, this started, well, there are a lot of different opinions as to where it started, but a lot of, many historians point to the fact that it started in India, and the Silk Road was a transit road between the Middle East and China. And a lot of cultural exchange took place on this road. So people were not only exchanging silks and jewelry and food products and whatnot, they were exchanging knowledge. And the 8 pieces of silk, the Baduanjing, was considered so precious. Silk was the precious commodity of the day, and that's why it's entitled the 8 pieces of silk,
Gotcha.
not the 8 pieces of exercise or something like that.
Right,
And this road really opened up a cultural exchange between China and India, and you could see a lot of the yogic roots in the Qigong, and you can see a lot of the Qigong in yoga.
Yeah.
So who invented what is still controversial.
Gotcha. And since we are talking about Qi, just a real quick, I know we're going to get more in detail, but what is Qi?
Qi is the vital life force. If you really break it down, it's the force that animates who we are, what we are, our function. Okay, it's the vitality, it's the energy that flows through us, and it's one of what we call the 3 treasures in Chinese medicine, and many people are familiar with this. This is Jing, Shen, and Qi. Okay, Jing is referred to as the vital essence, or to describe it another way, our DNA. Okay, so that's what we're born with, our hereditary component. Shen is the spirit. Now in Chinese medicine, in Chinese health sciences, is very interesting because Shen is related to the heart, but also the brain. So the ancients had it right. They saw the connection between the heart and brain. When the heart and brain were united, the Shen, or the spiritual harmony in an individual, would be in balance. And Qi, of course, is the vitality, this life force, that animating force, this electrical force, if you will, that flows through our bodies, that flows through the organisms of life.
Right. And although we can't see Qi, we know that it's there, it's alive, and it kind of runs parallel with blood, basically. Would you agree? Okay.
Yes. Cool. It's like magnetism. You can't see electricity, you can't see magnetic energy, but it's there.
Right. And so sometimes you may have let's say, a naysayer, just so to speak, and say, well, what is this Qi? Because we can't see it and touch it, but we know through different modalities of healing, such as acupuncture and things of that nature, that we are projecting Qi, whether it be through a needle into the body. But also you can feel Qi too. Like I know, and maybe some of our listeners can relate to this. When you walk into a room full of people that are maybe super positive, maybe it brings up your energy level and makes you feel positive.
It does.
But however, we've all come across a few people that we call them Debbie Downers, and their Qi has been weak, and it can also kind of drain your Qi, right? So Qi can also be looked at as energy as well, right? Energy cultivation, Qigong is a cultivation of energy, and that type of stuff, right?
Now, becoming the medical scientist here for a minute, if I may describe it in more medical or healthcare, if I can put this into a perspective, Qi flows, as you said, along with the blood and the nervous energy and everything. And the modern day scientists have isolated a network of meridians or pathways of energy flow. And back in the 50s, of course, scientists love to break everything down and they like to analyze it, because if you can show that it exists, it's fact. If you can replicate it, it's fact, and if you can't, then it's conjecture.
Right.
So they took radioactive dye and they injected it through these various acupoints, and they let it flow through the meridians, these pathways in the body. And we're going to cover the meridians later on, because this is a fascinating underground network of energy flow, nutrient flow, different components that flow through the body, and they've discovered that this chi, when they put the isotopes flow in exactly the pattern that the monks described 3,000-4,000 years ago. So this is an amazing source of divine knowledge that's being validated by science today.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
It's great. Right?
It's
and
amazing.
we know, and that could bring up a whole other topic of like, how the heck did they know, right?
How did they know?
But that would be a
well,
whole...
there's a divine component to Qigong, you know, of Tai Chi, Qigong, acupuncture,
Absolutely.
for sure.
And so to get maximum benefit in your book, you talk about this Qigong or the 8 Silk movement should be practiced at least 15 to 20 minutes a day. You think that would be a great way to see some benefits?
Yeah, it's like anything else, Dr. Enzo. It's like martial arts. It's like playing the violin, the piano, doing chess. Anything that you perform repeatedly is going to go into the long-term memory. The neuronal pathways are going to form circuits that are like, okay, well, yeah, this is how it feels. This is what's right. And you develop a pattern because after a while, you realize that there's a synchronized pattern of breath, movement, and chi in this exercise. And before you touched upon sitting and meditating, well, sometimes I have difficulty sitting, standing still. The monkey mind, it's got chatter. But when you're doing Qigong, you're moving with the flow. You're actually moving the muscles. You're moving the tendons, the ligaments. You're moving energy. You know, the mind controls the chi, and the chi moves the body. So it really is a very ideal, like its counterpart yoga, which is equally as effective. You know, it's a matter of choice, and some people do both, like us. Yeah. It is a very, very effective and incredible means of maintaining health, preventing disease, and in many cases, reversing disease if practiced diligently, like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day.
Awesome. For us students that are out there studying the course, this is not something that you hear once and then you say, I got it. You got to kind of hear it again. Yeah. I've been a student of yours for 20 years now, and
I have yours in the martial arts.
And it's great because I'm getting enlightened once again on it. And I think the intention behind Qigong is super important. Like you just said something that really struck a chord with me. You said the mind kind of has to lead us, right? So
yes.
I think also as we're learning it too, we have to say, okay, we've heard it once or we've seen it once, but let me go back and see it again and again. Like you said, diligent practice is what's going to make people start to feel the chi, move the chi, and then essentially we want to be able to use the chi for helping people and for healing, which we're going to get into as well. But you can't use it to help and heal people if you can't help and heal yourself first.
Brilliant point there. This is very important because one of the points that we emphasize is healing the healer. Okay, teaching the doctor, and doctor means educator, and there are many doctors out there, physicians, DOs, podiatrists, dentists, chiropractors, therapists, massage therapists, so many different types of therapists that work on people and give their own energy. Now as you're doing that, you're taking in the negative energy, and we describe the energy fields in this course. The body has layers of energy that project out. We can look at ourselves as a very dense vibratory field, and the energy field is higher, and then you have the mental, you have the cause, you have the mental, you have the astral, the causal, you have all these fields, all these different energies, exactly, all these energy fields that are involved in this. And as we're projecting energy, as you said before, we're taking on, you step into a room and you can feel the energy of certain people. Well, their energy fields and our energy fields are intersecting. Qigong builds the energy field by creating this electrical, if you will, or power source of energy around us and sealing off potential areas where negative energy can come in and infect us.
Right. And we actually call that Wei Qi, right?
Wei Qi, which is that's right, the protective qi of the body. So if our Wei Qi is strong in a practice like this, our odds of getting sick or being crippled by an illness goes down quite a bit.
Right. And I guess the great thing about this is that it can be practiced by anyone.
Yes.
And the other great thing is it's not mystical. I think, unfortunately, some mystique has been portrayed out there because I think of lack of knowledge, and I think with you having
ignorance,
you having not just the Western medical background, but also having the Chinese medical background,
Yeah.
and then also having a naturopathic medical background,
Yes.
and then having our Sifu talk giving us the martial
A vast body
background.
of knowledge and
Right.
experience.
So
We've
we're
learned
able to
so
really
much.
look at it and like,
Yes.
this is like let's get rid of what any misnomers are. And
Yes.
this is for anyone. Anyone can do it. It's easy to learn. But like you said, diligent practice is the key to this art.
It is, and we are eternally grateful to Grandmaster Takwa Eng because Master Takwa Eng is the person who helped get me into Qigong, and I'm sure he's had a very
Yeah,
strong impact in your practice as well.
absolutely.
He introduced me to this practice. In fact, he helped me, inspired me to lay the foundations for this book and this course and complete it. And it was at a time where I was facing surgery because I had sustained some very severe injuries to my knee from doing judo and skiing accidents and all sorts of other things. And I just didn't like the thought of having cold steel. So I said, let me try some other
Yes.
some other remedies, and I discovered Qigong, and it took 3 to 6 months of actual work
Yeah.
to help reshape, reformat, and restructure my movements and the ligaments and tendons. So I am a believer firsthand, and this is why I'm so passionate about teaching this to other people, as you are.
Awesome. Of course. Students, thank you guys for listening in. Reverend Dr. Bill, the expert in this field and many other fields. And we'll see you guys in the next chapter here. So stay tuned.
Many thanks. Be well and healthy.